Thank you all for joining tonight. We are learning a little Fuash Lamat to Eliyahu ben Batya, as well as to a soldier by the name of Matan ben Devorah. This soldier was hit, unfortunately, in the eye. He's right now he can't see, and I believe it's tomorrow he's going for an operation. So please have him in mind, Matan ben Devorah, for a refuah shlema. We're also learning Leilu Nishmat Rabbi Avram ben Chaim Yehuda and Yecheskel ben Rabbi Avram. So, one more announcement. There's something amazing that Daily Giving is doing. Daily Giving, of course, everybody knows what I'm talking about because everybody knows Daily Giving. Everybody's involved with Daily Giving. If you're not, you should check out dailygiving.org. But what they did something fascinating and amazing is where you can now sponsor $1 in honor of a soldier. So you could give schus. We know that staka tatzol nemabis, charity saves from death. So you have the ability now to go and sponsor a soldier and give charity in the sake of that soldier. So you could either bring your own soldier's name if you have a soldier that you're davening for, and if not, they would provide you with a soldier. You could just go and start the donation aspect of it, and just go through the steps, and it'll come out there. But okay, now on to the topic at hand. The idea of people caring about what's going on in the world is very, very popular right now. Many people are choosing sides, and many people have their strong beliefs, and many people have this empathy on one side and outrage on the other side. And you tend to see how it's very selective. People kind of decide when they're going to get upset, how they're going to get upset. People decide who are they going to have emotions for, feel for, have empathy for, who they will not. And we see this obviously a very large division in the Jewish world and the non-Jewish world. You have the empathy in the Jewish world, and you have the empathy in the non-Jewish world. Now, the focus, really what I want to focus tonight, is the difference between those two. And in order to understand the difference, we're going to have to go a little bit of a journey, as we have been for the past 4 classes, maybe 5 classes, when we're delving on the current. We've been doing very, very heavily current events, and today we'll continue with that. So we will go through about what's going on in the world, and then see how it kind of is the opposite of what the Jewish people are going through, but at the same point in time, kind of similar. And you'll soon see what I am saying. So as we begin, we know that yesterday there was a huge rally in Washington D.C. for against anti-Semitism, to support Israel. And the fascinating, amazing thing is that we had, again, this is an estimated number, it could be a lot higher, but they said that it was at least, and that's what I'm saying, a lot higher, not a lot lower. There was at least 290,000 people attending this rally. And again, not all of them are Jews, but at least 290,000 attendees. This is the largest community rally in the history of America for Israel. I guess the history of America and the history for Israel. The largest one prior to this was in the Second Intifada in 2002. There was about 100,000 people rallying, and then the time before that was in 1987 to support the Soviet Jews, when you had around 250,000 people rallying. So this time beat both of them, and that's not including the live stream, which people are estimating not watching it after the fact, but about 250,000 people watched it live. So you're talking about over 500,000 people participated in this rally to support Israel and to support the Jews. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that you look at the difference between the difference of rallies with pro-Israeli to pro-Palestinian is. It's like looking at, you don't even think they're rallying for the same cause. Obviously they're not rallying for the same cause, they're different sides, but you don't think that they're rallying about the same topic. You have the difference. You look at the Israeli rally, you have way more than all the other Palestinian protests or rallies, whatever you call them. Not one person was wearing a mask. Not a single person was wearing a mask. Now you have to ask, if someone's coming out in public to state that they believe in something, why are they wearing masks? Why are the pro-Palestinian, the pro-Hamas, why are they wearing masks? Because they know that there's something wrong about it. The pro-Israeli rally, there was not a single mask. The second aspect that you see, and this I found very interesting. I was not able to be, again, for reasons, whatever, it doesn't matter what the Gedolim were saying, but I'm not going to get into that, about going to the rally or not going to the rally, but you had the concern was for both sides, meaning In the Palestinian rallies, all they cared about is one side and one side only. In the Israeli rally, you had concerns for both sides, the Palestinian and Israel, which begins to shed light on who is the humanitarian on this side over here. The pro-Israeli rallies, you see what it was. It was American flags, it was Israeli flags, and if you look anywhere, wherever they're protesting or rallying, they always had Israeli rallies always had the flag of the country that they're in. Whether it's England, whether it's France, whether it's America, they have the flags. So basically, having hakar satov, having gratitude for the country that they are in, and saying we support our country, but please also help us support the country of Israel. The pro-Palestinian rallies, on the flip side, they do not have the flag of the country they're in. In fact, usually what they do is they rip down the flag of the country that they're in. They destroy the country of the flag that they're in. And you see this in America. I believe one of the senators publicized this, where in Israeli rallies you see them holding American and Israeli flags. In the Palestinian rallies, you see them ripping off the American flags and only having the Palestinian flag. And one of the reasons for that is they don't care about America. They don't care about France. They don't care about England. They want their country to become an Islamic country, and they state so very, very publicly, without any shame, without any like busha or embarrassment on it. And when you think about it from a political standpoint, this is a very, very not smart thing to do. The whole purpose of rallies, the whole purpose of protest, is that you should be able to get the people that are able to make a difference, the government officials, that they should help you. Now, why would government officials want to help you? Everybody has a selfish reason to something that they're doing. A government official, again, some of them are very that they only care about the good, and they only and we'll give it to them. But most people want something in return. So when they see people protesting, when they see people rallying, okay, wait a minute. If I'm going to listen to them, then they're going to in turn vote for me. But when they see people ripping American flags, and when they see, they're like, these are not voters. Like, why would I care to help people that are not voters? As opposed to, you see the Israeli, the rallies, they're supporting America. They're supporting Israel. They're supporting everything. But they're like, okay, but these are people that are normal people. These are people that are healthy mentally. These are people that are obviously going to support. So of course they're going to stand with that side. Again, I don't want to give the secret away to the Palestinians. But again, I don't know how many Palestinians are listening to these classes. But it's the dumbest thing for them to do when they vandalize, when they scream against their country. No one's going to want to help them. Like, who is going to want to help them besides the few Muslims that they have in government? But other than that, who's going to want to join their side? The government official, they care about votes, and these are not people that they're going to be giving any votes to one side or another, which is a side reason why it's important to vote wherever you are, but we're not going to get into that. So when you look at the difference, and in a sense there was a Kiddush Hashem where you had 290,000 people. I don't think there was one arrest. There was no ripping of posters. There was no screaming or killing for the Muslims. There was no genocide screaming. There was no gassing the Muslims. There was none of that. As the flip side, of course, we know what exists. There was something so amazing that was going around. There was a police officer that was asked, 290,000 people, and there was, from the people that I heard that were there was not a large police presence, which means there was a lot of the actual police that were there. They had to deal with a lot. And a police officer was asked, how was the crowd today? Like, how was it? And the police officer responded, direct quote, "I got a career's worth of thank yous in one shift today." You had tens upon thousands of people saying thank you to a police officer in an Israeli rally. You want to know what happened in a Palestinian rally? They attacked the police officers. And that happened, by the way, the same day that this rally was happening. Another place in New York, this was in Washington, D.C., another place in New York, there was pro-Palestinian rally, and they were attacking a police officer. So we see here very, very obvious difference in the people that you're dealing with. The people that support Israel and the people that support Palestine and Palestinians and Hamas are two very, very, very different people and how they act. But there's more than that, and I want to get to the double standard of where these people are coming from, and it's, in a sense, where we come from as well. In this week's parasha, the Torah tells us that with the birth of Yaakov and Esau, it says that the pasuk in Bereshit, chapter 25, verse 27. It says, "Vayigdulu hana'arim," the two young children, the two youths, they grew up. Yeah, it was referring to Yaakov and Esav. Vahi Esav ish yedei tzayid, ish sadeh. And it says regarding Esav, he was a man who understood hunting, and he was a man of the field. It says ish twice. Keep that in mind. Yaakov, it says Yaakov ish tam yoshev ayhalim. Yaakov, it says ish once. He was sitting amongst the tent. So the question asked, wait a minute, why is it that Yaakov gets one ish in the Torah and Esav gets the terminology is of the verbiage of two ish? So that one of the answers that I saw was very beautiful, is that Yaakov Avinu represented a mindset. And what does it mean that Yaakov Avinu was Yoshev Ayhalim? He was sitting in the tents. That means he was learning Torah. He was sitting and he was working on his character. He was becoming a better person. And that's what he represented. And no matter where he went, he was a shepherd, he was a wealthy man, he learned, wherever he went, he had one mentality, he had one foundation, and that foundation was Yoshev Ayhalim. He was a man of learning Torah, he was a man of God, and he acted that way. Wherever he was, he acted the same way, whether it was in the business world, whether it was in the learning world, whether it was in the interpersonal world, whichever way it was, he acted one way. On the flip side, Esav, it says ish twice. Because Esav, the two ish that it says by Esav is ish yedea tzayid. He was a man who knew how to hunt. But yedea tzayid is also another, there's another explanation for it, and that he was a cunning man, he was a deceiving man. And we see this when Esav went to his father Yitzchak. He pretended to be a big tzaddik. He's like, how do we go and give meiser on salt? He asked questions on things that was so abstract, that was not relevant, and he would ask these to present himself as a very, very holy and righteous person. But at the same point in time that he was an ish tzad, he was a cunning person, he was also an ish tzad, he was a man in the field. That's all he was. The personality of Esav was flip-floppy. He had a double life. At one point, he presented himself as a righteous person, and another point, he presented himself as who he really was. And this was the double standard that was the life of Esav. So we see that Yaakov had a single standard. Where he acted in his home, he acted outside. Where he acted outside, he acted in business. When he acted in business, that's where he acted in yeshiva. He acted the same consistently. And by the way, just a side note, this is a lesson that we can take into our own mind. Do we act the same way inside, outside, in business, in learning, and when we speak to people that are important to us, when we have respect, whether it's Talmidei Chachamim, whether it is to rabbis, whether it is to business associates, it doesn't matter. Do we speak the same way, or do we change? Do we also have a little bit of a double standard? Do we act differently in our house than we do outside? But in any case, Yaakov was one ish. He always had the same Yoshev Ayhalim, he had the same mindset. Esav was the double standard. And that's what we see in today's day and age, in the people over here that are posting the double standard. And let's go through a little bit of history. I'm going to share with you something through the past, I would say about 20 years. 20 years in history. And this is 20 years of history of humanitarian crisis, 20 years of history of mass murderers. And let us see all these people that they care, they have so empathy, they have their outrage on what's going on with the Palestinians, what's going on with Israel, their outrage is what's happening over here. Let's see where they were in all these situations. And these are the double standards that you see that is happening in the world today. These are people that are making a lot of noise. They care so much about people. They care so much about so many people, but let's see how much they really care. And by the way, when I say this, it's very unfortunate that sometimes, and I'm using air quotes, Jewish people are in this category also, that they cry and they care about all these people, where in essence they really do not care about it. All these people that they cry ceasefire, or they cry other nonsense things that they have no idea what's going on in the news, or they have no access to reality. But in any case, to quote the United Nations, which should not be quoted because they're not worth a paper that they're written on, but in any case, the United Nations has estimated that in Yemen, there was an estimate of 377,000 people killed. This is by the end of 2021. Killed, this was a lot by the Saudi Arabia conflict. You're talking about 15,000 civilians have been killed directly by the military. This you're dealing with 377,000 people. Now, for all the people that they care so much about the Palestinians, they care so much about the Muslims that are living across the world that they know very little about, where were the protests for Yemen? Maybe I missed it. Again, I was never so much involved in the news, but I don't remember seeing so many protests for Yemen. Syria, over 300,000 people killed. This is between March 2011 to March 2021. This, and by the way, some of this was done through chemical attacks, chemical warfare. I didn't see any protests for the Syria, for all these Syrians that are dying by the hands of their own. Where were the protests? 300 right now. The Gaza Ministry of Health, which again, it's worth exactly the same value as United Nations, which is nothing, is saying that there's like 11,000 dead, or I don't know, somewhere around that part. You're talking about 300,000. Over 300,000 in Yemen, over 300,000 deaths in Syria. It's a fraction of the number. Where were the protests? Russia killed, again, the estimate in Russia is all over the place, but it's about, let's say, 120,000. I didn't see one protest for Russia. I didn't see one. There was 24,000 Muslims killed in Myanmar. And besides the 24,000 that were killed, this is in late August 2017, there was more than 740,000 that had to run from Myanmar to Bangladesh. Most people don't even know where I'm talking about and what I'm saying. That's how little people know about what's going on in the world, which the question that lies is, wait a minute, so if people don't, then what's going on over here with the Israel-Palestinian conflict? Why is this headlines nonstop? It's a month. It's been a month. A little bit more than a month. And you're talking about all the major news networks. This is constantly on the front pages. This is constantly, Russia and Ukraine war is a lot more significant in deaths-wise than this. That's not making the page. They didn't make the pages for this long. Like in Sudan. In Sudan, there was a genocide campaign, against several black ethnic groups, and you're talking about somewhere between about 450,000 people killed. 2.5 million had to escape. They were forced to flee. They were refugees now. Did anybody even know about this? Like where was the protest for this? The Iraqi Civil War. This was between 2011 and 2013. Okay, not that long ago. Entire neighborhoods in Baghdad were ethnically cleansed by Muslims killing Muslims, right? The Shia and the Sunni militias. There was an estimate of 2.2 million Iraqis that were displaced. I didn't see any protests for that. South Africa, ethnic cleansing, where 80,000 were displaced. I didn't see anything for that. And if you want to say, okay, that's back then, what about right now? There is hundreds of thousands of Afghani refugees that are being deported from Pakistan. I didn't see one rally, one protest for that. And if you want to say, okay, these are Islamic people, they care about Islam, everything that I mentioned right now is all for Muslim people, everything except for Russia. Everything else was Muslim people. And you can go even further. Even you have, it's not only Muslims killing Muslims. In China, which is again not Muslim against Muslim, there's hundreds of thousands of Muslims that are in mass confinement, detention centers, that are under surveillance, they're being tortured. There is so much humanitarian, crisis that's going on in China right now. Forced abortions, the sterilizations, the organ harvesting. I mean, the list goes on and on. The torture. Does anybody mention this? Does anybody protest against this? In Iran, there was 2 girls that were murdered for not covering their hair, and there were a lot of protests. There was nationwide protests for that. You know what the Iranian government, the security forces did for that? They killed more than 500 people, and out of that 500, at least 69 of them were children. They arrested more than 19,000 protesters, and many of them were sentenced to death penalty. Where was the protest for that? For the people that they care so much about the world. They care so much about the Muslims. They care so much about the Palestinians. And again, as we all should, right? We all should. But where were the protests? If you care so much, then where's the double standards? Where were you? Where were all these people before, when all these people were suffering and murdered and tortured and displaced, all these humanitarian crises that were going on? There was not one protest that I've seen. And let's say that, okay, you just care about Palestinians. For whatever reason, you just care about Palestinians. All right, I'll give you that. Maybe that's where you come from. Maybe that's all you care about. So, where were you where there were all these human rights violations in Gaza by Hamas? Where were the protests for that? Hamas says straight out, they don't protect their civilians. They don't. And the funny thing is that they say, who's responsible? It's the United Nations' responsibility to protect the Gaza civilians. And that's like, I can't even begin to say that, like, they're the governing power. No, they have the obligation to protect the civilians. It's like America is going and saying, no, China has to take care of our civilians. We have to worry about what's happening in the Middle East, and China has to worry about that. Like, it's an idiotic thing to say. You're the governing power. You have to go and take care of your civilians. The Hamas uses human shields. Everybody knows that. Like, even, when I do my research from all area. Even Al Jazeera knows this, and they had to make they had to come out with a whole article explaining what that means and whatever. In any case, it came out looking worse than they thought that it would make them look better. But everybody knows they use human shields. Everybody knows that they take humanitarian aid, they take fuel, they take everything from their own people. They build tunnels only for their own people. They don't build bomb shelters, and they say it straight out. We don't build bomb shelters because we need to protect ourselves, and that's why we only build tunnels for who? For Hamas. We don't care about the Palestinians. We don't care about the people in Gaza. We only care about ourselves. They say it straight out. To the point that they even murder their own. Forget about how they got into power when they overtook and they literally shot and killed their own. The Palestinian Authority had power over there before they came in. They murdered them and threw them off the roof. Putting that aside, they murder their own civilians. And this was also documented. I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks ago or something like that, where the news outlets came out where Hamas was killing their own for running towards the Israelis. People that were kind of giving up. Now it's changing a little bit, but Hamas, very straight out, they shot their own civilians. These are all 100% war crimes. These are all human rights violation. And this is not happening just now. This has been happening since 2007. This has been happening a long time. If people care so much about the Palestinians, and people care so much about, where were the protests against Hamas? Where's the double standards? And you know what these people say? They're going to respond to you, well, you know why? You know why Hamas is doing that? Because Israelis are making them do that. I don't think anybody could ever make somebody do what they did to babies. I don't think anybody could ever make do something what they did to women. I don't think anybody can can make anybody do something like to that extent. That is sadistic, animalistic. That's not humane behavior. But people give excuses for them. And they say, you know what? They gave excuses because there's a wall, there's a blockade, there's an occupation. They use all these fancy terminology, which is all incorrect. And if you look into history, the reason why there's a wall, the reason why there's a blockade, the reason was only after the terrorists came into power and they wanted to kill Israel. So all Israel did was protect itself. That's all it did. That's all it did. And we spoke about this, I believe it was last class. Or it was 2 classes ago. The idea that people claim that the reason why these terrorists are doing these acts was because of Israel is backwards. The whole reason why Israel is protecting itself is because these terrorist animals did something first, and then Israel protected itself, and now these terrorist animals are continuing their act. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't that Israel went and they started being, okay, let's seclude them. Let's do this, let's do X, Y, and Z, and then they lashed out. The lashing out happened first, and then came the blockade, and then came the wall, and then came all the protection things, and then they got upset that we were protecting, ourselves. And to make matters a little bit more clearer, the Gaza Strip is right now one of the poorest places on earth. And you would think, okay, it's poor, that means that everybody's poor there. The answer is no. The leaders over there have a huge wealth. The leaders are worth in the billions of dollars, the leaders of Gaza. And just to understand the level, the unemployment rate in Gaza is over 60%. In 2022, the World Bank reported that the GDP per capita in Gaza was estimated at $1,257. To compare to that, to the West Bank, which again is not a rich, place, that had 4,458, GDP per capita, which means that's you're talking about a one fourth of what it was going in West Bank. And you think about it, where's all the wealth going? I mean, Gaza, 80% live in poverty. But yet there's hundreds of millions of dollars that are going in continuously. You're talking about billions of dollars over the course of the years that went into Gaza. Where is it all going? Besides building missiles, besides doing all these things, it's going into these people's pockets. These are people that are worth in the billions of dollars, while the entire economy is in shambles. Everybody is not doing well, and if people really care, if you really cared about the Palestinian cause, where were you in the past 15 years, in the past 17 years? Where were you going and rallying and supporting for what? For to get rid of Hamas? So what's the answer? The answer is we're not dealing with real empathy. These people don't care. The people, why are people all of a sudden waking up now in Gaza? No one cared before. I shouldn't say no one. Most people don't care before, and most people still don't care. The proof is straight out there. If people cared so much about it, why isn't anyone taking the Palestinian refugees? Israel would love to give it to Egypt. Take Gaza. But you know the funny thing is, no, it's as if everyone's protesting that Gaza is going to be free. Nobody wants Gaza. Nobody wants it. It's like the lowest of the low, right? And I don't want to even get to all the details. Of course, I'm sure there are decent people over there. But putting that statement on side, the people that went and broke in after the gate was open was not just Hamas, and it was not just the terrorists. You had civilians that broke in. You had civilians that captured, that kidnapped people. You had civilians that came into murder. There's a lot to unfold over here that today is not the time to unfold it. But the idea is that nobody wants Gaza. Israel doesn't want Gaza. Egypt doesn't want Gaza. Jordan doesn't want Gaza. Lebanon can't even handle their own. Forget about thinking about Gaza. Syria is still working on their own issues. Nobody wants it. So stop. Everyone's the occupation, that what's going to be. Nobody wants to deal with Gaza. Nobody wants it. It's corrupt. It's terrible. The education there is all about hatred. The education there is all about murder. Nobody wants to deal with it. But if people care so much about it, why are they waking up only right now? And the answer is, it's a double life, just like Esav. Esav had a double life. Ish Tzayed, he was a cunning person. He was an Ish Sadeh, he was a different person in one place and a different person in another place. And you see the same thing over here. These are people that are protesting, that they want to free Palestine. Yet the same protesting, what do they want to do? Human rights violation. But at the same point in time, they're screaming out for a mass murder of Jews. For the same point in time, they're vandalizing the country that they're in. For the same time, at the same time that they're asking for mercy on one people, they're going and they're hurting the police officers in another. In the state that they're protesting against. You can see the double standard is in the same sentence. They don't have to, it's the same sentence. And that's where you see the difference between real empathy and fake empathy. Everything that's going on in the world, all these people that are crying out, so say Gaza and say that, and I shouldn't say all, but most of them, they don't care. Just like, unfortunately, many people don't care about all other wars that are happening. The Ukraine-Russia war, how many protests are going on over there? If it doesn't affect you, you don't care about it that much. And that's, unfortunately, the truth of the matter. If it's going around across the world, it doesn't affect me that much. So you have the college kids that are a little bit bored, they have nothing to do, and they don't have any intelligence, so they go and they start picking sides, and they think that it's the right thing to go and protest because, it's the right thing to do. That we spoke about that already previously. But empathy? Caring? No. This is not empathy, this is not caring. The historically speaking, when you want to look at empathy, you want to look at caring, there has never been a moral army close to the way the Israeli army is going. Which army goes and tells people, leave before we bomb? Leave before we bomb. There are people that are coming out that Israel is going on a genocide. Israel wants to wipe Gaza off the face of the earth. If Israel wanted to wipe Gaza off the face of the earth, it could do it within 24 hours. So easily they have the weaponry, they have the air force, they have the technology, they have the ability to literally make Gaza flat within without any problems whatsoever. Right? They don't have this. They could easily do that. They're not looking for genocide. Israel is trying to go, and this is the crazy thing when you look at the world and be like, how do you not see this? Just look at it from a little bit of a bird's eye view. You could see things so clearly. It begins to boggle your mind. Israel's the only army that tells people, leave because we're going to bomb it. But the people don't always listen. So Israel calls them. Israel sends them text messages. Israel sends them leaflets. They fly over them and say, leave in Arabic, leave for your own safety, go out, and they tell them exactly where to go. They draw them a map and they tell them exactly where they need to go. And if they still don't leave, before they bomb a building, they draw a roof bomb, which means it's like a knock bomb, which is like an explosion, and to let people know that in the next few minutes they're gonna destroy this building. Like, no army does that. And you know what the own government of Hamas does? Tells the people, no, I want you to stay. Because it looks good. It looks good when you die for the papers. This is a media war that the media is literally feeding itself into it. The Hamas is trying to go and get the world empathy by saying, look at the deaths. Look at the deaths. Doesn't forget about what we did, but just look at the deaths. And that's why they're the ones that are giving their own death counts. So you have over here, Israel is giving them the way to get out. Israel is not only that, they also are helping them. They're bringing fuels to their hospitals. Again, Hamas doesn't let it, which is a whole nother situation. They're bringing incubators to their hospital. They're going, and they constantly give, like, how much does Israel need to give before people start realizing, okay, wait a minute, maybe the humanitarian crisis is, we're pointing the fingers in the wrong place. And the answer is they'll never do that, because they don't. It's all selective. It's selective outrage. They don't care. They don't care. There's not. And I'll tell you, to make this matter, is to show you how much Israel does. Which, again, not all that I'm saying I agree with what Israel does, but the bottom line is this is what they do. Yahya Sinwar, or Yahya Sinwar, however, if you're American or if you know how to pronounce his name correctly, the leader of Hamas in Gaza Strip. This guy was, in 1989, he was responsible for abducting 2 Israeli soldiers and 4 Palestinian soldiers. Not soldiers, but 4 Palestinians. He abducted, he kidnapped 2 Israelis and 4 Palestinians. He went and he was sentenced for life in prison. In life in prison, he had a tumor. This is the current leader of Hamas in Gaza, who was living like a cockroach under the bunkers. He had a tumor in his brain. Israel then went and treated him with the best doctors. He didn't have to pay a single cent out of this. He had a brain tumor. He was completely treated in an Israeli hospital, and then later he was released in the Gilad Shalit deal. In 2017, he became the leader of Gaza Strip, which you begin to think, like, this is the guy who orchestrated the mass murder of over 1,200 Jewish people or Israeli people. This is it's like, if you start thinking about it, like, imagine, like, for Americans, right? Imagine that Osama bin Laden was in America and he was sick, and America took care of Osama bin Laden, and they gave him free healthcare, even though it's not free, and they gave him the best doctors, and they cured him of everything, and then they send him back to Al Qaeda, right? They send Osama back, Then Osama bin Laden goes and does the 9/11, the terrorist attack against the Twin Towers. Like, do you imagine, like, where's the, like, a little bit of like, I don't know, like, they saved your life, at the end of the day. Yeah, he was sitting in prison, but they did things that they would never have done in any other country, especially in the Middle East. And this is the return. So how do you cut? And this is what Israel is. So you see over here the empathy from one side and the empathy of another side. You see over here, and I was listening to today. I don't know what it was. It was in Hebrew. It was an Israeli, I guess, news station that was talking about this. And the person that was speaking about it was like, I don't understand what Israel's doing. And the other person, again, this is secular Israelis, and the other person says, what can we do? He says, this is who we are. We care too much about people. We can't. We just care too much, and we can't let someone stop. We can't. We care too much. And he kept on saying that, and, like, it hit me, in a sense of, like, the humanitarian, like mindset of the Israelis is so high, yet in the world's outlook, it's so low. Like, how is that? Like, why are the dots not connecting? Like, why are they not going anywhere? And the answer is, just like people have select empathy, and just like people have selective outrage, people also have selective hearing, and we all know that. People see what they want to see and hear what they want to see. And there's a narrative. Every single one of us, every single person out there has a specific narrative that they go through. And this is the way that we want to see things. And this is the way that we want the appearance to be, so this is the way that we will see things, even though it may not be true. But the important aspect is to see the difference between real empathy and fake empathy. And now I want to present to you the most important. This is the whole thing that I was leading up to. So bear with me for the next 15 or so minutes, because this is the most important aspect that I feel is so imperative. I feel like this will help, fast forward the Mashiach coming. So this is something that I spoke about before from Rabbi Matisyahu Salomon. And Rabbi Matisyahu Salomon, this is not based off the recent events that happened now in Israel, but in the past many years, we have seen that there was an increase in suffering across the board, specifically for the Jewish people. Whether it's parnasah, with livelihood, whether it's shidduchim crisis, whether it's with children, whether it's broken homes, whether it's health and young deaths, whatever, the list goes on and on. And we never really understand, we never really know how and why the Kadosh Baruch Hu does certain things. And you begin to wonder at this stage in our gullus, at this stage in our exile, why are we going through so much suffering? And then we have the worst day since the Holocaust. The largest amount of deaths in one day since the Holocaust. And you think, okay, you know what? At least now the world will be on our side. And as the Jewish people are picking up the pieces, you see the world turn very quickly against the Jews. These are places of higher education. These are educated people ignoring facts. These are governments around the world. These are going against the Jewish people. We're like, wait, we just got hit. Like, what's going on? So explains Rabbi Matisyahu Salomon. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes and sends Moshe Rabbeinu down to Mitzrayim, and he gives Moshe Rabbeinu the secret signs to convince the Jewish Zakanim, the Jewish elders, that he is the one that's going to take them out of Mitzrayim. And Moshe Rabbeinu convinces the elders, he convinces the Zakanim, and he goes to Paro. And you can imagine the euphoria, you can imagine the people like, okay, our Savior is here, and he's going to Paro, and they go to Paro, and Moshe and Aaron and all the elders, and they say, let my people go. And what was the response? Paro goes and says, you guys have so much time on your hands to think about redemption. You guys have so much time on your hands to think about other things. You know what I'm going to do now? He says, until now I was giving you straw so that people can make the bricks for the slave labor. Now they're going to collect the straw themselves, but they still have to make the same number of bricks that they made until now. So some of the people started turning on Moshe and Aaron. He says, what are you doing? Like, Moshe, Aaron, why did you guys come here and make trouble? Like, we were sitting here, yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, but at least we're getting straw. Now you made it so much worse for us. And Moshe Rabbeinu, his love for the Jews, what caused him to do everything was his love for his brothers and sisters, his love for the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu, who saw these unexpected developments, he's like, I thought I was coming to help them. I'm making them worse. And this is why Moshe Rabbeinu in Shemai chapter 5 verse 22, it says, "Vayeshem Moshe el Hashem." Moshe returned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'yemer Hashem, and he said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, "Lama hirasa la'am hazeh?" Why did you cause harm to these people? Lama zeh shelachtani? Why did you send me? I thought I was coming to help people. I thought I was coming to go and save them from slavery. But instead, what happened was, it became worse when I came. Why, Hashem? So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu answer? HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered, "V'yam Hashem el Moshe, ata tireh asher eseh leParo." Now you're going to see what I'm going to do to Paro. So we have to ask, what was going on over here? Why did Hashem send Moshe to do this? Why did the Paro have to go worse? Why now, after it became worse, now Hashem's going to show Paro who's the real boss? So, explains Rabbi Elya Lopian. There's a Gemara in Shabbos, page 151b, that says, "Kol hamerachim al habriyos merachim alav min hashamayim." Anybody who has mercy to other people, Hashem has mercy on him. It's midah keneged midah, measure for measure. And it goes the flip side. You don't have mercy on other people, Hashem is not going to have mercy on you. Explains Rav Elya Lopian. We have to understand what happened over here. Moshe went down to Mitzrayim to get the people out of Mitzrayim, but there was a problem. And the problem was the Jewish people did not deserve to be redeemed. And if you ask people, nowadays, people are saying, where is Mashiach? Does Mashiach need to be? Why isn't Mashiach here now? We're waiting for Mashiach. And the question that we have to ask, again, do we deserve it? And I hope we do. And I'm not saying one way or another, but it's a question that has to be asked. And back then, there was the same question. Did the Jewish people deserve to be freed from Mitzrayim? And the answer was no. They were not back then. They were in the Memtes Shari Tumah. They were in the lowest level of Tumah. They did not have enough merit. But Hashem wanted to redeem them. They needed to be redeemed. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a shortcut. And the shortcut was that they could show extreme empathy for one another. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu would show extreme empathy to them. Mida keneged mida. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? What did God do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu engineered a situation where people will have the opportunity to show extreme empathy. So what he did was, Hashem caused the bondage of Egypt to be so much darker, so much harsher, so much worse than it was before. The suffering was increasing, so now the individual will have a higher level of sensitivity. People would feel their suffering. And you want to know who are these heroic individuals? Who are these individuals that ended up saving the Jewish nation in a sense? These were the Sheikhdom, these were the Jewish supervisors. The Medrash explains that the Egyptians, they did not really hold these taskmasters, these Shotrim, these police officers responsible. The way that it was, excuse me, is that there was slaves, and then there was Jewish overseers. These are the Shotrim. These were the police force, the Jewish police force. And the Egyptians would be on top of them. And the Egyptians would say, okay, you have a group of, let's say, 20 people that are working under you. And the quota was, each person, let's say, for argument's sake, would make 100 bricks per day. So if you had 20, you have to deal with 2,000, you had to deal with 2,000 bricks. So if you say, okay, if you're short, one time you're bringing 1,800 bricks, where is the difference? Where is the shortage? And the police officers, the Shotrim, what they had to do is they had to tell the Egyptian taskmasters, and they say, okay, listen, slave A, B, and F, they're the ones that caused a shortage in it. And then what the Egyptians would do, they would go and they would beat these people to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But what the Shotrim did, they did not give over the names. They were like, we can't. And this is what Rashi explains. The Shotrim refused to do it. They've refused to give up the names of their fellow Jewish people, the people that they were watching over, because they knew that they weren't going to get beaten. And you know what they said? They said better that we should get beaten than they should get beaten. And they refused to turn it over. They showed extreme empathy for the people that were suffering. Beforehand, it didn't exist that way, but now when all of a sudden HaKadosh Baruch Hu raised the volume, raised the suffering, all of a sudden it gave an opportunity for everybody around to share in that empathy. And this explains Rav Eli Lopian of what was going on over here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now you're going to see what I'm going to do to Paro. After the description of the Shotrim, after the trigger, after they gave up that, after they showed that empathy, that was the trigger for the redemption. That was the trigger for the Geula. Even though they didn't earn it yet. And we look at nowadays where we're in a very, very dark time for the Jewish people. And to make matters upon more, to bring darkness upon darkness, there is an increase of anti-Semitism. There's an increase of violent protests. There's an increase in damages, and the increase in boycotts. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And, maybe we could say that our generation has not accumulated enough merit, enough schusim, to earn the redemption, to earn the geula, to earn Mashiach. But what we lack in merit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us opportunities. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us keys. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, these abilities, these opportunities that come up. That if we have mercy on other people, if we share the empathy of our brothers and sisters, then we can get this tremendous amount of merit. And we have to use this empathy. This is the real empathy. This is not the fake empathy of the world. And let me just explain this. The Gemara in Sukkah, page 52a, it says that there's 7 names for the Yetzer Hara. One of it, the names of the Yetzer Hara is Evan, is stone. What does that mean that Yetzer Hara's name is stone? Meaning that people's heart turned to stone. They don't feel anymore. How many of us live day by day just by habit? We just do with our, we daven because, we have to. We say Tehillim because we have to. We learn because we have to. We Shabbos because we have to. We bench because we have to. We do things out of a stone heart. We don't feel. And all of a sudden something happens to our world that shakes us up. And I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to where they were all of a sudden, they're I started feeling again. We're so numb, not only because we're used to day to day, but it's all the social media, and it's all what's going on in the world, and the TV, the movies, and the music, and everything that's going on in the news, and we're so busy with work, and we're so busy with so many other things, we become stone. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us, all of a sudden, this lightning bolt that wakes us up. And all these people that couldn't daven, and all these people that couldn't have concentration, and all these people that just were so sleepy, so full of stone, all of a sudden we all woke up. So many people woke up, and you're talking about people that, and I shared this video on the WhatsApp group on, for people, that were completely didn't even look Jewish, fully tattooed up until to becoming religious, and then from all spectrums. We shared a few videos on the WhatsApp group, and if anybody wants to join the WhatsApp group, it's below on the videos. I know it's on YouTube for the videos. You can join it over there. So you have so many people that just woke up over here, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us an opportunity. It's giving us an opportunity we should feel. We need to feel. It's good to feel. It's good to cry. It's good to have empathy. It's good. This Kol HaMerachim, anybody who has mercy, this is giving us the opportunity. What the Gemara in Shabbos tells us, we have an opportunity to bring the Geula so much quicker. We all feeling something. The question is, what are you doing with that feeling? What are you doing with that? Do you just have a good cry and that's it? Or do you take those tefillos and do you channel them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Do you channel them to help somebody else? Do you channel them to show your empathy for somebody else? Do you go and you daven for a soldier? Do you daven for somebody who is captured? What are you doing with all those feelings? We are no longer an Evan we're no longer have a heart of a stone. So now what? So now what do we have to use this empathy. So when we look at the world, we look that there's real empathy and there's fake empathy. There's real outrage and there's selective outrage. And it goes with anything. The empathy, the care that the world is giving to Gaza, the world is giving to the Palestinians, and we can see most of it, it's fake, it's nonsense. They don't care about it, and they're going to forget about it as soon as the war is going to be over. It comes and goes. But we all know that Jewish empathy is very different. Muslims kill Muslims, and Muslims don't care about Muslims. We know that, it's very obvious. We see this time and time again. But when a Jew hurts, all the Jews feel the pain. Every single one of us. When you go and you read and you're going on the news and you see another 2 soldiers didn't make it, every single Jew, it affects something. It's I can't. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes when I'm going through the news and I'm reading it and I see that, I have to skip it. I shouldn't maybe, and I should really feel for a second, but sometimes I just skip over it. I can't. Sometimes it's just too much. Because we feel. And we're supposed to feel. And we need to feel. But the question is, what are we doing? When you realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us an opportunity? Just like when the people went out of Mitzrayim. The Geula of Mitzrayim is very similar to the Geula that's coming out when Mashiach comes. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Jewish people an opportunity to have that empathy in Mitzrayim, and now HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the opportunity to have the empathy now in Galus, in the last final Galus before Mashiach comes. And we have to utilize that. So feel strong, but do something with those. You feel something, stop for a second, daven, say Tehillim. You're feeling something, okay, so then do something extra. Learn a little bit more, dress a little bit more modestly, learn the Hilchos Lashon Hara, keep Shabbos a little better. Do something with that feeling, because feeling is the beginning of something that you're able to transfer that into an action. It's not just that, okay, I feel something, now let me skip and we'll go to the next thing. Maybe, I'll dig it under some more layers of suppression that I need to put in. No, this is something that we need to go and we need to utilize it. And that, I think, is a huge aspect that we have to learn from this. Besides the fact that the double standards is also a good lesson. The double standards is in every single one of us. It's easy to point fingers and say, oh yeah, they got double standards. Yeah, but to some level, each and every single one of us, we all have some sort of double standards. So let us take these two lessons. The first and the most important lesson is make sure that when you feel, and you will feel, if you're listening to this, if you're learning, if you're a Jew, you are going to feel. Utilize those feelings. Say a kapitel tehillim. Daven for someone. Do something with those emotions. That's number one. And number two, just like the world has double standards, every single one of us has double standards. And we have to go and dig a little bit deep down and see where our double standards are and try to overcome them and try to go and bring them to a point where we're just like Yaakov Avinu. Ishtam Yeshiv Ahalim. We just have one focus. The way that we act in our home is the way that we act outside, is the way we act in yeshiva, is the way we act with the gedolim, is the way we act with business associates, is the way we act with every single aspect of that, because we only have one, and there's only one thought process, and that is what we need to do for our Kadosh Baruch Hu. And with that, hopefully, with the empathy that we have, just like the empathy that they had in Mitzrayim, and that brought them redemption so much quicker. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu also bring the Geula quickly in our days with our empathy that we have. And with that, we'll say one kapitel tehillim as we always do, and then we will open up if there are any questions. Okay. As usual, we'll say kapitel Lamed, chapter 130. And again, anybody that's listening to this after the fact, say the tehillim. It's not just if someone makes a bracha, you're not supposed to answer amen, it's on recording. No, say the tehillim. Shir Amalois, Mima Makim, Karasicha Adonai, Adonai Shema Bekoili, Tieno Aznecha Kashuvais, Lekol Tachanunai, Im Avoinois Tishmor Ya, Adonai Mi Amoid, Ki Imcha Aslicha Leman Tivarei, Kivisi Adonai Kiv, so Nafshi, Vilidvarai, Hoicholti, Nafshi Ladonai Mishamim Labaker, Shamim Labaker, Yachal Israel Adonai, Ki Madonai Yachased Varbe, Moifedus, Uhu Yiftas Israel Mikol, Avoinesov, Achenu Kol Beis Israel, Hanesunim Batsara Ubashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayam Ubein Bayabasha, Hamakim Yirachim Aleim, V'yatzim Mitzara L'Revacha, Machela Le'ira Meshibud Le'geula, Hashta Bagalav Zman Karib V'Neimar Amen. Okay, let us open up for any questions, and then we will end it off. Okay, I see the link over here, so thank you. I am going to check that out. It's not flu, but I have to check it out. But thank you for the link. Yes, Baruch Hashem, it did work out for the daily dose. Oh, amen for the kind words. Okay, what does it mean? We have over here. What does it mean if you feel like you're not feeling? It's like when I see something, I don't feel sad about it, but I don't feel inspired to do something. So that's a great question. Because there are people that we become desensitized especially when we're looking and we're reading and we have a crazy overload of information. So we do become desensitized, and it's normal and it's common to be desensitized, by it. But the simple way out of it is just like a little bit of like a thought process. It's not even, I would say, meditation, but it doesn't even have to go that far. It's just like being in a quiet place for a minute to 5 minutes, where you could just think about what's going on. Think about what the parents of the kidnapped people are. Think about what the spouses and the parents and the children of the soldiers are going. There are so many aspects that you could just contemplate on, that you could think about, that you could really bring yourself to a point of just feeling something, because you will, if you just think about it, guaranteed less than 5 minutes. You could think about it and it will bring yourself to emotion, and sometimes we don't, because we just push it down, we suppress it, or we become desensitized because of the overflow of information. Okay, last question looks like. Can you use MICE money to pay for Jewish marriage, a marriage class? Okay, that is not 100% clear. Possibly, but you have to be a little bit more specific. So you could message me privately because I need a little bit more of some specifics. But it is possible. Okay, looks like that is all the questions. I want to thank you all for joining as usual. I really appreciate anybody that joins the live classes. Again, anybody that does want to join the live classes, you are able to join our WhatsApp group. You could either email me at rabbizitron@torahanytime.com, or on the YouTube pages on the bottom there is a link for the WhatsApp to join the WhatsApp groups, and there you have all the the information for the upcoming classes. Thank you all for joining. Until the next class, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu watch over every single one of us, all the Chayalim, all the people in Eretz Yisrael, and may we hear a tremendous amount of amazingly good news this coming week.